Welcome to today's deep dive. We are tracking down the single largest known living organism on Earth. And fair warning for you, it is not the blue whale or the giant sequoia.
Right. Yeah, those are the standard trivia answers. Heaviest animal, tallest tree. But neither holds a candle to the current title holder. This thing is hiding completely underground in the Malheur National Forest in Oregon.
We are talking about Armillaria ostoyae, the humongous fungus. Our mission today is to dig into the sources and figure out how a single subterranean organism grew to the size of 1,665 football fields.
Yeah, and why it is a ruthless armored killer rather than just a passive plant. I mean, it completely reframes what an individual can even be.
Right, because we're talking about a continuous network covering 2,385 acres. That is roughly 4 square miles. The sheer mass of it is just mind-boggling.
It really is. Scientists estimate it weighs around 35,000 tons, which is equivalent to about 60 Boeing 747s.
60, wow. And it has been growing there silently for somewhere between 2,400 and maybe even 8,650 years old.
Which means it could easily predate the pyramids. And just to be super clear here, because I know this is where people usually get tripped up, this is a single genet.
Meaning genetically identical across the whole thing.
Exactly. Researchers use genetic testing to confirm that the DNA is identical across that entire 4-mile stretch. It is one giant clonal colony.
But it's not just sitting there passively absorbing nutrients in the soil. This thing is basically an apex predator. It hunts trees.
It does. Armillaria is a parasite. It sends out these black, shoestring-like structures called rhizomorphs to scout the soil. They're specifically looking for the roots of conifers, like Douglas firs.
And once it finds those roots, it is not exactly a friendly symbiotic relationship. It essentially strangles the trees from the inside out, right?
Yeah, it penetrates the bark and girdles the tree. That cuts off the nutrient supply entirely. It kills the tissue, feeds on it while the tree is actually dying, and then digests the dead wood. It is a ruthless cycle.
So it is a forest-eating monster. And the recent research on why it's so incredibly hard to kill is fascinating. It turns out these rhizomorphs are armored.
This was a massive find. Scientists analyzed the outer melanized layer of the rhizomorphs and found they incorporate significant amounts of calcium.
Which is wild because fungi usually build cell walls out of chitin. Incorporating calcium seems like a massive evolutionary anomaly, almost like it's building a shell.
Precisely. It acts as a protective shell against the tree's chemical defenses and against mechanical damage in the soil. It's incredibly resilient, which explains how it's managed to dominate the landscape for millennia.
Without being checked by anything. So it has the armor of a tank, but the scariest part might be that it doesn't just grow randomly, it actually plans. The sources mention this mycelial mind and spatial recognition.
Right? It really challenges our definitions of intelligence. The fungus obviously lacks a brain, yet the network makes complex decisions about resource allocation and memory.
It is the Wood Wide Web in a literal sense. Nature's internet. It uses electrical impulses to communicate across that massive distance.
Very similar to action potentials in our own neural networks. It conserves energy when resources are scarce and surges when it senses food.
Now, there is a supreme irony here. This prehistoric, armored, forest-killing, intelligent network produces fruiting bodies that are actually delicious.
It is true. Above ground, they are known as honey mushrooms. They are edible and highly prized for their sweetness and umami flavor.
But the sources are very clear that this comes with a high-stakes warning for anyone looking to forage.
A massive one. There is a deadly look-alike called Galerina marginata that grows in the exact same environments. It looks nearly identical to the untrained eye, but contains lethal amatoxins.
So you're either eating a gourmet ingredient or risking irreversible liver failure. How do you actually tell them apart?
You have to look at the details. Armillaria has a sturdy white ring on the stem and a white spore print. The Galerina has a rusty brown spore print. But really, unless you are an absolute expert mycologist, the risk usually isn't worth the reward.
It is quite a duality, a tasty stir-fry ingredient that happens to be an ancient calcium-plated giant living beneath your feet.
If we look at the big picture, it forces you to completely rethink dominance in nature. We usually look for the sharpest teeth or the fastest claws. But here, the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world is a silent subterranean network.
Next time you take a walk in the woods, you might want to consider what is happening right under your boots. Is intelligence really just a brain, or is it a network spread across miles of dark soil? Something to chew on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.